Ну, так чё? Так чё? Блять, хорошо, что это сундуки вот эти остались наверху, заебись вообще. Да ты чё?
Honestly, out of all games, Tower Defense X was the one I was least expecting to have lore. But hey, just like my opinion on the game, things can change. Unlike other Roblox Tower Defense games that have lore, TDX doesn't do the whole wall of text thing that other games do. Instead, most of the lore comes from wave dialogue, tower descriptions, observing enemies and maps, and official artwork posted in the game's Discord server. There's a lot to go over, and it gets pretty dark, so without further ado, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's jump into the lore of Tower Defense X. The lore of TDX actually doesn't start with TDX at all, but rather tower battles. Thanks to the TDX XTB collab, as well as the existence of and the wave dialogue for the revived boss 1 and 2, and the tower description for Railgunner, we can piece together that our protagonists, the GDA or Global Defense Agency, started out during the events of TB, defending the world from the Void and his zombie armies. Immediately, this poses a lot of interesting questions. The titles of Revived Boss 1 and Revived Boss 2 seem to imply that the undead of tower battles were never actually dead to begin with, and they were revived somehow. This is better shown on the Revived Boss 2, who has multiple serum tanks showing out of their back. I don't think this was exactly what John and the rest of the TDX team were trying to imply, but it's an interesting implication nonetheless. Bigger still is the existence of the GDA. Considering that such an agency does not exist in tower battles, it's safe to assume that the GDA was founded after the Void's defeat, evolving the towers of tower battles into more militaristic units. Let's transition into one of the art pieces posted in the Discord. This image shows Dr. Zenon, who has been revealed earlier as the main antagonist of Tower Defense X, where they seem to be performing experiments on a strange rock with a mark on its center. This mark is known as the Mark of the Calamity, and it represents this demon and everything under its influence. Side note, a thing about Calamity, there is a non-zero chance that Calamity is meant to be the Void from tower battles. If we look at the Void, we can see that he has this really big crystal in the center of his chest, and looking at Calamity, there's actually a hole in that exact same spot. Not to mention, we know that the Calamity was originally supposed to be called Calamity Void, but it was changed to look more, I guess, unique, even though it still bears a striking resemblance to the Void, with the veins and the spikes on the back, and of course, just kind of the look of it. But anyway, yeah. So, basically I'm saying the crystal could be the same crystal that's on the center of the Void's chest, just taken out, but we don't really know that for sure. That's just a little theory. Anyways, so what in the world is the Calamity Rock, and what is Zenon doing with it? Well, the latter question is more obvious. Based on the objects that we see lying around the area, we can reasonably conclude that Zenon and her companion used the power of the Calamity Rock to create the power cores for the techno-organic warriors seen in the game modes. Enemies such as the Smashers, the Predators, and the Eradicators. But why were the Eradicators created in the first place? Well, while it might be easy to just assume that Zenon made them to just destroy the GDA, I'm not so sure anymore. Take, for example, the two Eradicator skins for Juggernaut and John, which tease the possibility that a human could actually be inside these suits. Even more damning is the damaged forms of the Eradicators, especially the combat one. When at half HP, each Eradicator enters into a rage mode, usually unveiling a set of teeth and making the robot act a lot more feral. This has always felt like a strange detail to me. They always felt more alive than just machines, and the Combat Eradicator kind of confirms that, with its damaged form revealing the humanoid skull and teeth underneath the Eradicator mask. On top of that, we got people like the Predators and the Smashers who appear to be sewn together, taken apart, with their organic parts taken apart and fused at the cellular level with machines. Furthermore, there is evidence that appears to imply that the GDA were creating Eradicators at some point. On the map assembly line, we can see that there are Eradicator parts still hanging from the assembly line, long after this factory was abandoned. But how is this place linked to the GDA? Well, check out the triangular insignia on the walls of this place. Does it look familiar? It should, considering that this exact same thing appears in the TDX Endless Mode cinematic trailer, inside the GDA bunker that John and the rest of the towers are inside, before the Apex Predator and the other Eradicators jump in. So, what does this mean? Well, if we assume that Zenon is telling the truth in the Christmas Nightmare update, and that she is the only person creating Eradicators, This means that she is a former employee of the GDA. This would also explain more exactly about who her lab companion was, the person we've been continuing to see with their eyes scratched out in pictures thus far. I think at this point most people agree that Zenon's companion became the shadowy Calamity girl that was teased in artwork and appears in endless mode along with the hordes of the Calamity. I believe that she was actually part of the GDA science division, considering that we can see that underneath her lab coat, she is wearing GDA green, looking very similar to the default EDJ's attire. However, during endless mode, her name simply shows up as redacted, meaning that the GDA possibly knew about her existence and about who she was and what she is and what she went through, and are intentionally concealing it. So how did she end up this way? And why did Zenon turn on the GDA? Well, at first I thought that the GDA forced Zenon to sacrifice her companion to the Calamity Crystal in order to activate its powers, which is backed up by the research base map having that engraving that says "Don't trust the GDA." Also, considering that they're doing research, they were probably at that research base, so it all kind of lines up. However, there is one pretty big hole in this theory. In the picture where we have Zenon and her companion, we can see there are whiteboards behind them, and it's clear that she was already scheming against the GDA at this point. So instead, I think it's possible that they brought her on to make the eradicators following the Void's death, and they wanted to explore hell and all that stuff, and she just didn't like the GDA for whatever reason. She probably worked at the research base map still, so it all kind of checks out. And Zenon probably chose to sacrifice her companion to the Calamity Crystal voluntarily, in order to further her plan into taking down the GDA from the inside. This would explain why, in one announcement picture that John made, the shadowy girl wishes revenge on both of us. She wishes to destroy the GDA and Zenon. At least that's what I think this is what it's saying. This leads up to the second picture. Here we see Zenon not in her usual confident self, but panicked as her monitors fill with images of the Calamity and her former companion destroying everything. I believe that this scene takes place during endless mode waves around like wave 50 or wave 80 or something like that. See, since Zenon most likely used the Calamity Crystal to empower the robots she made, this means that the Calamity could, at least theoretically, take over them all on a whim, which I believe is exactly what's going on in the picture. This is its revenge plan on Zenon, taken full form. She misused Calamity's demonic powers to start a war with the GDA, but in the end, it seems Calamity was the ultimate winner here, and I think that's just where we'll leave off for now. So, what do you think of my theories? Do you think I'm right, or is there something I'm missing? Leave your theories in the comments below, and as always, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I have a goal to hit 20,000 by the end of the summer, and your subscriptions could really help make that dream come true. Anyways, see you guys all next time. Bye.